qualified for the WNBA playoffs.
That's big.
It's big. It's first time in 7 years. They had gone something like 13, 14 years in a row making the playoffs, and then Tamika Catchings retired, and they had not made the playoffs since then. A couple years ago, they only won 5 games. One thing I noticed, CJ, this is the way the media works and the way the internet works. All these headlines about the Fever making the playoffs include Caitlin Clark's name in the headline.
What do you think we're going to do?
Caitlin Clark, that one we just showed, Caitlin Clark's Fever make the playoffs. ESPN, Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever qualify for WNBA playoffs.
This show will be titled
Caitlin Clark makes the
playoffs. Yeah. Caitlin Clark is a sports phenom. She is what is driving and what has been driving a lot of sports discourse and a lot of sports clicks, views, listeners since this summer started, since she came into the league.
I've watched Caitlin Clark sort of tangentially the last couple of years. I watched the run they made in the NCAA tournament this year, and I watched some of the games this season. Actually, on Saturday, I watched. It must have been Sunday afternoon. I watched the Wings versus the Fever game that was on TV, and Nancy Lieberman was announcing, and I thought, I didn't know she was still doing the games. Come to find out, there's this whole thing happening on Twitter because Cheryl Swoops is normally the announcer, and she got pulled off the game, so Lieberman stepped in and did it, and then they were on. Nancy Lieberman was on the Stephen A. Smith podcast. Like, there's all this drama and stuff all going around Caitlin Clark and other things, and like it all involves Caitlin Clark.
All drama. When you say
her
involved,
name, I should.
it's her name.
She's not involved.
It's not her.
No,
Caitlin Clark has been super.
She's been above the whole thing.
Yeah. The entire time since the eyeballs emerged on her, and we decided, okay, we're going to do this with this one. We're either going to hate her or we're going to despise her. Nobody's going to be in the middle on what she is and what she isn't. And she has, to her credit, been above that, like you said, and handled it really, really well. She is, I think, averaging about 18 points something.
Yeah, she's the second
game.
leading scorer.
Leading assist woman in the W this season. The Fever, since the break, since the Olympics/All-Star break, I think they're like 6-1, 7-1 in that span. Which is crazy. All she needed was just a moment to rest, and then a moment to watch film and figure out where she needed to be. And everybody else on that team as well, though Mitchell and Boston and Hull and the rest of them, figure it out. Like, hey, just give us a minute to watch some film and fully get a practice together where we aren't playing every other day because of Caitlin Clark. We know that we're always on TV, and the W was trying to capitalize on the Caitlin Clark name and money early in the season, like we are. And they said, hey, all right, we got this break, 2-week, 3-week break. And they come back and have been killing it. The way that Aaliyah Boston in the high post, we talk about it time and time again, the way that not only she's able to finish, but her passing ability is remarkable. You throw Mitchell's ability to hit threes, Hull's ability to make threes, and then you got Caitlin Clark driving the whole thing. This Fever team is way ahead of schedule from where I thought they'd be. I was like, it's going to take a season and a half at least for them to figure everything out. And no, they figured it out quick.
This is clearly like.
Before he continues, man, I like how CJ made it very clear that Caitlin Clark and her being involved in the whole media situation, that it's just her name being thrown in all of this. Caitlin Clark has not once got herself involved in any of the drama going on around the league between her and other players around the league and Swoops and all these other veterans in the league and whatever the case is, all these other females. Now, what I don't want people to get mistaken either is that the Indiana Fever weren't the only ones who got a break. Everybody got a break. Who utilized the break to their advantage? Obviously, we keep up with the Fever a lot. We saw what the Fever were doing. They treated it like a training camp. They were in there 2 to 3 hours a day. They were lifting weights. They were doing team activities. They were focused on defense. They were working on defensive schemes. Getting their shots up. They were taking it like a real training camp, and it is paying off for them. Like I said, I'm not going to judge, and I'm not going to say what other teams were doing, but the Indiana Fever have benefited a lot from that break. It only took a couple weeks. Like CJ said, they probably broke down a lot of film. They got that chemistry. They got their legs under them, and now look what they're doing. 6-1 out of the break, playing tremendous basketball, and they're looking like a top 5 team in the league right now. They've clinched the playoff spot. So I love what CJ's bringing up right here. That's a very, very good point. Because a lot of people seem to think Caitlyn is involved with the whole nonsense going on. Look, man, Caitlyn hasn't said one word. Not that I've heard. If you guys have heard something that she said, please let me know. But I haven't seen one segment of Caitlyn Clark disrespecting anybody in this league. I have not seen it. So, and she just doesn't seem like that kind of girl. She doesn't seem like that type of. Don't get me wrong. She talks her stuff on the court. But I feel like it's more of a passion thing. I don't feel like she's looking for the drama. She's not looking to fight. She's not looking to hurt anyone. She's just looking to have competitive basketball. So, when I look at Caitlyn Clark, it is unfortunate. And I know I've seen some interviews where she says, look, I don't want my name being used at all for any type of racial anything. I've seen her do that interview. So she just completely blocks all that stuff out, and I wish we would too. I feel like not me, but like in general, the people, the fans. But, right now it's a storyline, and sometimes you need a storyline to pump situations up. So whatever's working for the WNBA right now, it's working. Obviously, Caitlyn Clark's name is a huge part of that. And as CJ stated, she's a athlete phenom. So can't deny that. Let's continue with CJ and hear what he has to say.
Like the best team she's played on, right? Because on that Iowa team, yes, they went to the final 2 championship game and all that, but she had to do everything. She scored. She was the best player on that team. And now on this team, she has teammates where she trusts them and she gets them the ball and they can score. She doesn't have to be the focal point of everything. And then when she gets doubled, she's cool. She passes off to whoever. That Dallas game the other day, they were down 10 in the third quarter, and I'm like, oh no, this is over. And they came back and won. They were calm. They made their way back, played into it. I said on Gary's show, when she was playing on Iowa last year, it reminded me of Kobe Bryant, the way he used to play, where on those bad Laker teams where Kobe was like, all right, I got to do everything. And he was scoring and, handling the ball and get double teamed. He would still shake free and find a way to get a shot up and make it most of the times. Now somebody in the chat the other day said she plays more like Steve Nash now, which is an interesting comparison I hadn't really thought about. But she, she's so good at setting up the teammates and finding people, and to be at the middle of this whole discourse and be sort of the focal point of it, whether you want to be or not, cannot be fun. But she's handled it with aplomb, and I think it's been kind of cool to watch. And I'm happy for the Fever. Made the playoffs.
2017.
First off, she is not Steve Nash. Caitlyn Clark is a little bit more than that. For me, for women's basketball, Caitlyn Clark, you're talking about a point guard who could score, who is an offensive threat, who reads the offense in a huge way. I mean, I don't know, man. Caitlyn Clark could still go off for 30 a night. Easily. I think she understands that getting her teammates involved will help her in the long run. I wouldn't say that she's taking a back seat or anything like that when it comes to scoring. She's still getting her 20-plus points a game, almost. So I think she's being nice, personally. And you're starting to see right now, she's starting to take those shots with no hesitation. So I don't know about that take right there, but Caitlyn Clark, she's going to get more and more comfortable. So just expect more and more shot attempts as her time goes along in the league. Trust me. Caitlyn Clark will dominate and eventually average 25 plus in this league, if not more.
Team to 2023, the Fever, you could argue worst team in professional sports. 58 and 174 in that span.
2022, they went 5-31.
3 of those seasons they finished dead last. 3 of those 6 seasons they finished dead last in the W. You brought it up. They only won 5 games one of those seasons, and the only time they didn't lose 20 games or more in that 2017 to 2023 stretch was in 2020, and that was only because there were only 22 games that year because it was shortened because of COVID, right? So this is a franchise that the past 6 years, they've been abysmal, and Caitlyn Clark has come in her first year and been a large piece, a large reason why they have gotten into the playoffs, and they are near 500. I think they might be just over 500. And not only are they in the playoffs, they're the 6th seed. They're comfortably in the playoffs.
Here's my question. It looks like the WNBA playoffs, making the playoffs always sounds great. It seems like it might be kind of a low bar. There's 12 teams, right, in the WNBA. So 8 of the teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So there's 7 of the spots are now clinched, and they are fighting for the final spot. The 2 teams fighting for the final spot are both 11 and 22.
Yeah.
So being 5 and 31 isn't that far off from 11 and 22.
But you're not 11 and 22 though.
I
Right?
guess.
Like that's been
That is twice as many wins.
That's been the way that it's been set up for a while now in the W, where you're getting 6 to 8 teams into the playoffs in a 12-team league, and the Indiana Fever hadn't been close to that.
Yeah.
They hadn't been around there. They've been easily the worst franchise in this sport, and for them to not be that bad, for them to be actually kind of good, and again, one loss since they've gotten back from the Olympic/All-Star break. That is impressive. And they've got wins over some of the good teams. They got wins over the Sun. Come on, man. The Sun are right there in the 2 seed right now. And that could be that's Jessica's first round dream right there, to get the Sun versus the Fever in the first round.
Yeah.
We saw it a whole bunch early on in the season. The Sun are, I do believe, 3-1 against the Fever this season. But the Fever won the last one, and this isn't the same Fever. The Fever right now aren't the Fever to start the season. It will be fun. It's going to be fun to see them match up against either the Sun or the Lynx.
Look,
Sun versus,
as CJ said, if we do get the Suns, if the Fever get the Suns, that's going to be bad for the Suns. I think the Fever can play with that team. I think the Fever, whoever the Fever get, is going to be bad. The way they're playing right now, bro, it don't matter who it could be. It could be the Aces. It could be the only team I feel like they wouldn't match up well with is the Liberty. That's the only team I feel like they would just have a small problem with, is the Liberty. The Aces, depending on how they continue to play, that's another one. Besides that, I feel like they can play with every team out there. That's just me. They run the right lineups. They get everybody equipped. They get Temi rolling offensively. You know, this is a tough team. They got a couple ball handlers. You know, they got a couple people shooting the 3-ball very well. They got some bigs down low who have been working. You got Dantas being able to stretch the floor, being able to shoot some threes. You got Lexi Hull playing great defense, shooting pretty damn well as far as shooting percentages and things like that. And then you got Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark going absolutely crazy. It's a team you don't want to play in the playoffs, man. I'm going to tell you right now. So it can be scary for whoever, but I don't think the Fever are scared of anybody. I'm going to be honest. The only people that I can see really, really giving them a hard time is the Lynx in a real series. So besides that, look, man, it's your boy C. O'Connor. If you have not, make sure you guys sell up to game day. I appreciate you guys. I'll be back with another video. I'm out.